Oh shit. Welcome to Truth or Raps. Hold on a second.
That's a lot better. So, so I finished what could at least be called a version, but I've gotten intuitions that it is the version, the real proper version of this thing. It is my poetry book from um, the rap CDs that I made and ultimately put I'd say the official versions together in like late spring, early summer, or even maybe mid or later summer for one of them. That would be Returned by Bruiser of 2016. And so this isn't all of the songs. So originally the idea was to do all of them. And I still think that might be a good idea. And I wonder, if here's the thing, they're transcribed from the songs. So the way I did the transcription now, let me just say this. It's definitely, or it's most likely, highly likely going to be different from the way I'd do it in the future. Especially if I were to be following my own assessment of like what would be an attractive way for this line to be laid out, because I was going basically on intuition the entire time. Like, basically, literally, it was like dragging myself slowly through the mud on like an endless field of spikes and daggers. And you should see the amount of emails I sent to myself back and forth, just like, this is the new version of the file. 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 On, and way more than that. Like I might have surprised you with how much I did that phrase repeated there in this there, but no, man, it was way more than that. Um, like this, and the thing is, this came from transcriptions of songs that were themselves part of a massive effort to create those albums. Like, just hundreds, if not thousands of hours, really went into the creation of those albums. Whether it be like agonizing over the details of like track names, or just agonizing over the details, like just really agonizing over like what are the correct versions of the songs, to like editing the songs, to many of the albums have some, if not all, tracks produced by me. So I even made the beats myself, making the beats, doing the performances. It was often not that many takes. Like, I think probably fewer than 10 takes for all the songs, like all of like each of them. And many of them, essentially, it was a pretty early one, but like it was just a lot went into it. Like a lot went into it. I might post a whole, let's say the next video is going to be Brand Business, one of my albums, but a lot went into it, one that I produced myself entirely. It was a lot. And anyway, I so I put in all this effort transcribing them and putting them into this, what ultimately is the form I have them in now. And I also put in all that effort putting them into the CDs, but most of the CDs were composed of primarily written poetry that I had written, like either recently from the time I performed whatever song it was or whatever verses they were or something, or even back to college, because this was after college, 2 or 3 years after college, for like most of the work or most of the production on these, really, or well, a lot of the productivity on it all anyway. Anyway, and so it was like either around that time or back in college maybe or back in high school or back in grammar school, and it was just document after 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 document after. It was a lot of stuff. It was just really a mountain of stuff. Or at least a decent amount of it. Like, I don't know about a mountain of stuff, because I did make pretty good use of what was there. But it was a decent amount of stuff. And so, like, essentially what has now crystallized into this sort of distorted funhouse mirror version of it is my poetry collection. And I think it's turned out very well. Now, here's the thing. Earlier today, I was looking at it, and I was like, I sort of had gotten to the point where it was like, and I had reached this point so many times in a sense of like, oh, it's done, or an intuitive sense of like completion or something, or like, but it was like almost completion, or it was like, that was the final one, no, that was the final one, no, that was the final one, no, that was the final one. But finally, it was like, it did reach a point where there was a last step, and it was like, that was the final one. And here it is. And it seems I haven't read back through all of it yet. But I went through the little, like, you know, resolving this and that issue with the text, like little, like, just checklist of like things to check over. But there is certainly a sense of like, I don't know if it's Dada really, but certainly a sense of like postmodernist kind of sense of like kind of Jackson Pollock-y, like maybe stuff is left in there a little bit here and there, but like still ultimately it's like this poem, and then that poem starts on a new page, and then that poem starts on a new page, and it's like, you know, these are all the poems, you know, split into the different albums that they came from, not all the songs from all the albums. It ended up feeling like, no, you know what, this is it. Like, I thought was going to get to a point where it was like, okay, that's the base I'm working from, and then I'm just going to do the rest of the albums without worrying quite so much about how it was coming out or something, and maybe just it was a good enough foundation that it would come out the way it was supposed to. But but I realized partway down the line, like really today, do you know what? No, it was yesterday. Yeah, I think it was around yesterday, or I realized pretty recently, like, you know what? I think this might just be the form of it. Like, I think this, what I was sort of working to as the foundation for it, that would be set in stone, and then just put the rest on it and sort of worry about the rest later. I think the foundation that's set in stone is the entire structure, artifice, edifice. And so, I found sort of a point, and I was sort of like getting like, you know, kind of zigzagging, like, oh, this is it, no, blah, 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 or like, I still like knew like, okay, well, or I still had the idea like, okay, I'm going to go organize it, like, you know, I'd like to go organize it and have the poems be like each starting on a new page and stuff, and have it be like, you know, I'd like to have it organized so that it's like laid out like a book, but at the same time, it's like, I'm sort of gonna just like basically do some basic checks, and then that's it. It is what I did, and I, you know, I was a book editor, so like I've edited books before and stuff. Not anything like super crazy famous or anything, but like, you know, stuff that did appear in the bookstore and stuff, and yeah, you know, it's just you edit it, and well, this is how I would do it back then anyway. It would be like editing the book, like, oh, you read through the chapter and like edit it as you go, and then you basically like edit it chapter by chapter, Actually, I don't know if it was that strict in terms of exactly what order I did things in. But in any case, like I'd basically do the edit and then I'd like go back through it again, I think, and then I'd maybe go back through it again and then do like a series of like checks, like basically check to make sure basically like things where it would be like this is a likely style error or something, or like this is a or something like I don't know. Basically, like it would be a list where I'd literally like search for specific like words or like bits of punctuation and stuff, and like click through and deal with like each example that seemed to come up for something. And anyway, this was like the last part of that, and then it was done, and I had it.